This is Yvonne. Hi, everybody. We are live. All right, so let me see who's out there. I see Julie's out there. I see Robin's back. Hi, everybody. Today, we're going to continue my favorite things. And for those of you who don't know where to find things, let me go ahead and just show you where we are. I'm going to share my desktop. If you go to the top of my website, it's called My Favorite Things. We're only on block 3, so if you have just joined us, you can go ahead and jump in. But let me just show you what the handout looks like. The handout looks like this. It's a rotary cutter is what we're working on today. I've added it to my favorite things. It's not necessarily my favorite tool, but we're going to do that today. And so when you get there, you have a handout for last time if you didn't do that one. And that one was the little embroidered heart. And then you also have the one for the sewing machine. So if you want to jump in and this is your first time, you should go ahead and do that. All right, so let me show you what we got going on today. So first, let me talk about this project. The first thing that we did was we created this little sewing machine. And my sewing machine has this little block here in the corner. And I'm not a super fan. So I'm thinking of eliminating that corner block. So let me show you what I've got. I've got 2 camera view. So this is my first block that I did. And let me just kind of zoom in so you can see. And I added this border, but I'm not crazy about how this little thing is turning out. So I'm thinking of eliminating this strip here and just butting this jelly roll up against there. Tell me what you think. It will reduce all of this piecing of this 9 patch. But I don't know. Then again, I think it looks pretty good. I was able to seam rip it and get it all to match. So this is the first block we worked on. The second block, I'm just going to go on and tell you guys I wasn't done with it because I was waiting on needles. And I developed what is typically known as sewing room ADHD. That's where you start working on a project, but you see so many other cute things in your sewing room that you start working on those. And the thing that I worked on in my sewing room was a needle nest. I didn't have the proper needles for this project, so I ended up making this little needle nest. And it is just felt pages. And then I went ahead and ordered a few needles. And the ones I needed were John James Chenille 24. And those have a great big eye. And now I'll be able to finish this particular block now that I have the proper tools. But this is a little needle nest I made myself. And now I can finish this one because now I have the needles with the great big eye that will allow me to finish this. So anyway, that's the status of this block. So let's go ahead and continue. We're going to continue on to block number 3, and it is the rotary cutter. And so the rotary cutter you guys have is quite large. If you don't like this rotary cutter, you think it's a little bit too big, you know, one of the things you could do is you could probably just trace your rotary cutter. But I thought that was too skinny, so I went ahead and did a chubby rotary cutter. All right, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to trace it. Mine's a little bit bigger than what I want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trace just inside these lines to reverse engineer my rotary cutter. And I'm just going to come down here and make it slightly smaller. Just because I think it's going to be more proportional. And I like it when things are proportional. And so I'm going to, you notice that here, I've got a little bit slightly smaller. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to trace it onto the paper side of fusible web. That's the web side. And so I'm going to go ahead and lay that down and I'm going to trace the pieces. The first piece that I'm going to do is I'm going to do the body as a single piece and I'm going to do an overlay. I'm just going to go like this. And I'm going to leave an overlap, so I'm just going to dot it like this. And then I'm going to come in here and make this a little bit skinnier. Just because I don't like that super chubby rotary cutter, because my actual rotary cutter is not very chubby. Okay, and so I'm going to leave that piece there. The next piece I'm going to need is I'm going to need this circle. So I'm just going to, see, am I going to need 2 circles? No, 1 circle. 1 circle for the middle, like this. And 1 big circle for the outside. And actually, it could cut it out of both. So let me just over here. And I could actually cut 1 out of both. So let me save myself some trouble. I'll use that for something else. I'm going to get a 2 for 1. And then I'm going to cut this out right here in the middle. All right. So for my blade, I decided to get this kind of marbled gray. I think it looks kind of silvery, so I'm going to use that. And I'm going to go ahead and use these scissors for my gray. And then I decided I have a rotary cutter that's aqua. And because I made my sewing machine kind of an aqua color, that I was going to do the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and just trim that like that. And then I'm going to fold this in half. And I'm going to go ahead and cut that circle out of the middle. And then I will be able to just lay that right on top. And trim this out. Maybe. All right. Now let's go ahead and continue. I'm going to take this silver stuff here, and that's going to be my blade. Now I'm going to fussy cut it because there's places that have more silver, and I'm just going to give it a little press. There's no starch on this fabric. This is a batik, so it doesn't matter which color. I'm going to go ahead and just do it right there. Yep, that looks pretty good. My iron is hot. I'm using Pellon 805 for this. I want to make sure that that is adhered and it's a full 15 seconds. I'm going to go ahead and just rough trim around that. This is my pet peeve in the sewing room, is to find bits like that, but I usually do leave it like that. And then I'm going to put that aside. Then I'm going to use this aqua. I'm going to put this on the wrong side. These are scissors are better. And I'm going to put this on the wrong side of my fabric. Now you see all this extra stuff? I'm going to go ahead and remove that because it wastes fabric, and I can use this little bit of fusible web on another project. If you've got little eyes, little buttons, other stuff, I just put them in a little Ziploc bag. And I save those little bits for other stuff. All right, I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to set it over here. I'm going to press this corner. And you always adhere fusible web to the wrong side of your fabric if your fabric is not a batik. Oh, all right, everybody, say hello. I think you guys can hear me. I should have checked that before. So we're going to go ahead and put this on there. Yep, that one's done. And so I can go ahead and peel that off if I wanted to, but I'm going to go ahead and just cut the circle. And I'm going to leave the middle just as it is. I'm just going to trim it. All right. There we go. That's a mostly circular circle. There's a couple little spots that are not super circly. Is that a term? Yep, that's a term. And I like how that looks. See how it gives it like a little bit of a silver look? I don't know. Then the next part is this little thing here. And I've got a piece of background, which is 9 by 11. These are going to trim down to 8 by, you see, I think it's 8 by 10. But I'll just double check. But I'm pretty sure that it says 8 by 10 in the pattern. Yep. It's 8.5. So this is 8.5 because you want it to be 8 by 10 finished. So it's 8.5 by 10.5. Let me double check that. Oh, I hate when I do that. Nope. It's 8.5 by 11. Oh, it's the same size as your paper. Goodness gracious. I'm so sorry, people. All right. So these are 8.5 by 11 is what I'm going to trim these to. And then I'm going to sew them into my background. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this. And it should have cooled down enough for me to do this little bit to it. All right, so how many of you guys are making these in a colorway? Are you adding all the same colors? Are you doing rainbow colors? What's your colorway for this particular quilt? All right. There we go. That's going to be the handle of the rotary cutter. I like how it looks. I think I'm going to use a lot of blues in this one. Let me center that. So I'm going to fold this in half. That way if I have to trim this, it's centered. I'm just going to fold it in half. And I'm going to line that up with the center. So let me peel that off. There we go. I'm going to peel this off. Lay it right there and overlap it. And I like how that looks. And then I need the circle in the middle. Now I could do a couple of things with that circle. I could do it black like mine, which I might. And then I think for this particular thing where it says Olfa Rotary Cutter, I might do a little bit of embroidery. And I might embroider my whole name on there, maybe even the date. I haven't decided yet, but I think I'm definitely going to embroider something. And so for that, I'm going to need a little leftover bit of anything. It doesn't matter for that little handle, but I'm thinking that I'm going to do that label in black. I've also had the option of adding a little heart to this one, just like I did the other one, and so I might do that as well. But we'll see. I haven't decided quite yet. All right, since I'm doing a change of color scheme on this one, I've decided that I'm probably going to do a little crumb of fabric that may be black. I haven't decided yet. Should I do navy for the circle or should I do black? I don't know. I have both. I have black and then I have a navy. I think I'm going to do the little bits in black. So I'm going to go ahead and just do that color choice. Sometimes I get in my sewing room and I start questioning my own decisions. And so let me give this one a little press. And I'm going to go ahead and get my circle wherever it went. And we'll go ahead and continue. Well, I can't find it now, so I guess I'm glad I drew this one. All right. God bless America. All right. And go ahead and stick that in the corner. I don't know about your fusible web, but mine is called Transweb, and this particular brand, I like it, and it does a good job. Now, while that's cooling down, I'm going to go ahead and give this one a light press because I don't want to kill the glue. So I'm just sticking it just enough so that it adheres to the background. Now I'm going to trim this. And I'm making it a tiny bit wider than I drew it out. And let's see what that looks like. I like that. My oval is not, my circle is not perfectly circle. I need to remove a little nibble. There we go. I'm also going to need the little finger portion on this thing here, and so let me pull that out. All right. So I have this little vacant space, but then I have this little thumb piece right here. And so this is going to get stitched, and then this is going to be appliqued. So I'm going to grab a little piece, and I can use the little piece that I kind of set aside earlier if I want, or I can just do another little piece, but I think I'm going to draw this one. Just like that. Now, one of the things that you could do is that you could go ahead and put fusible web on an entire piece, but I usually only add what I need. All right. All righty. Make sure that you have fusible web all the way out to the edges. And then I'm going to curve this. I don't know why. I think I like the look of it being curved. And then I'll remove that from the back and attach it right here. And I'm going to use a friction pen because this goes away, but I'm just going to do that so I can line it up. And then I'm just going to line that up right here. And I'm going to use that to line it up. Pin it in place when you have something that can move around on you. Just pin it in place and then press it. If you get these little snaggles, just remove them. And that's usually from where the fabric can ravel on you. So just prune that off. And that's going to go in place. And if you notice, that friction pin went completely away. I'm going to remove the paper backing off of the circle. And now I'm ready to start sewing. Navy or black, I haven't decided. I'm going to do a second one, and I think I'm going to do it in navy. And I may do a different color because there's two of each one. There's two of each of these rotary cutters. So I'm going to go ahead and go like this. And there we have it. And now I'm going to do some detail work. So if you notice on my original, there's a lot of detail work. And this right here, I'm going to actually not cut it out, and I'm just going to put a button there because mine is going to be a wall hanging, and so it doesn't matter if there's buttons on it. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the machine, and I'm going to stitch, and I'm going to go ahead and show you. I'm going to go ahead and stitch really close to the edge in like a browny gray, like a smoke color, because I think I want that instead of a harsh black. All right. I'm going to take you over to my machine, and I don't need anything special, right? I have the presser foot on normal, and then let me go ahead and pull this up here. So let me pull that. I'm using like a smoky gray. It's like a gray brown. And I'm going to start in the middle. So I'm going to use this as a reference guide. And I'm going to start here. And so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the center first. And I'm not going to put any decorative or fancy stitches because you don't need it. And you just get as close as you can to the edge. And you find that when you wash these, they turn out just fine, even though it's raw edge. It's not needle turned. These end up looking really pretty anyway. So if you don't have a fancy sewing machine and you don't have a lot of decorative stitches on your machine, don't worry, because you don't really need them. All right, so then we're going in a circle. Let me go quickly here. All right, so there goes the first part. And I like this color. It's like a smoky gray. And then I'm going to hop over to this portion right here. So I'm just going to loosen the thread. And then I'm going to hop over. And I'm going to start here and go around. So I'm starting at the top edge of my rotary cutter. And I'm going to go around. And I just lay my hands like this and turn with both of my hands so I'm driving. And I'm using a stitch length of 2.5 when I'm going around all of these. I'm going around, around, around. I'm going to love this quilt. This quilt is made for moi. I'm not going to give this one away to anybody else. All right, now when I get here to the end, I'm going to take one stitch back, and then I'm going to bring it down, and I'm going to hop the needle down to the edge, and I'm going to do a continuous line. And that just makes it more secure because the less times that your thread is broken, the less likely that the thread is to come out or have issues. So I try not to break my thread if I don't need to. I'm going to go around. Whenever I'm doing something, I try to sketch it out in my mind as to what my starting and ending point's going to be, because it's important to know where you are so you don't have to do too much backtracking. And so we're going to go here. And then I'm coming along this edge. And I'm going to end it here. And then I'm going to come along the bottom And I'm going to stop here and backtrack and then go over here to this side to make that other seam and also to be able to sew this. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to sew right along that edge of the blade. Just like this. I'm using my fingers to drive. It helps to kind of flatten your hand so you get really good control. Slow your foot down. I know that some people get really excited with their pedal. And see what that did? I just went over that, gave it emphasis. I'm going to come there. And then I'm going to come back around just to kind of make that line thicker. That drawn line. And I'm going to come across. And across the bottom. And I'm going to catch. I catch that little thing right here, and I'm going to come around, and then I'm going to come back out. So I'm going to go loop around and then come back out to the other side. And that's so that I don't have to break my needle, my thread, I'm sorry. I'm coming around. I'm going to stop right on top of the thread I just stitched. And then I'm going to come around just like this. And that gives me one continuous line for my rotary cutter. And so if you've noticed, I stitched the entire thing. And the only time I had to break thread was right here in this section, right there. And so now this entire thing is done. Now I can come back and I can use some metallic threads. I'm going to put a little button on this. But this, my friends, is the block. It's super easy. There's nothing else to do. Let me break my thread really quick. All right. This is block number 3. You can catch up if you're just getting started. I'm going to put a heart somewhere on this one. If you noticed, this one had a heart on it. This one has a heart in the middle. And then this one is going to have a heart somewhere. I haven't decided if I'm going to put the heart on the side, on the bottom. I may make a smaller heart, but I have a bunch of hearts because these are my favorite things, and I'm going to be adding hearts to all of them. So you go ahead and you do what you want with yours. Like I said, I may put a little heart in the middle and just do a metallic red heart. I haven't decided yet. I may just add a great big giant heart, but all of these are going to have hearts because these are my favorite things. I hope you will enjoy it. Friends, we have another one of these next month, and we're just going to keep on working. And for those of you who want to get started on your outer sash, wait until I test out a couple more things because I may have to make adjustments to the pattern. But that's it, my friends. Get out there and start sewing. Download the handouts. We've got a lot of fun things that are coming up. We have next month, we have the little yarn. We're going to have buttons. You're going to have embroidery floss, seam rippers, scissors. We're going to have a lot more things that are going to go in this quilt. And I can't wait to finish this one because this one is going to be a lot of fun. All right. Does anybody have any questions about the project? Anything that you would like for me to work on? If you missed the little apron at 4 o'clock, I finished that just so you guys can see it. See if hopefully I won't fall down. But this is the little reversible apron that I made for my granddaughter. So if you want to make an apron, I did that earlier and the replay is already posted. All right, everybody, you guys have a great, wonderful week. I think this quilt's going to be just as much fun as the gnomes. And I will see you guys next Sunday for another episode of the Jelly Roll Club. Share it with your friends. Give it a like. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope you like my patterns. Bye. Have a good one.